The Poetic Edda from Old Icelandic, as translated by Jackson Crawford. A little caveat here. I'm not well versed in the pronunciation of Scandinavian or Old Icelandic, so certain terms will not be pronounced correctly, I'm sure, but just bear with me. This little section is part of the Voluspa. I know where Heimdall hid his ear, under the heaven bright, holy branches of Yggdrasil. I see a river that feeds the muddy waterfall, where Odin's eyes hides. Have you learned enough yet, All-Father? I sat alone when that ancient one came to me, Odin of Aesir. He looked into my eye. What do you seek from me, Odin? Why do you seek me, Odin? Odin, I know where you hid your eye, in the famous waters, the well of Mimir. But Mimir can drink every morning from those waters, where your own eye drowns. Have you learned enough yet, All-Father? Odin opened his eyes to rings and necklaces. In exchange, he got wisdom and prophecy. I saw more and more, looking out over all the worlds. I saw Valkyries come from far away, ready to ride to the homes of the gods. Skuld held a shield, and Skugul another gun. Hild, Gondel, and Girkuskul. Now the Valkyries are counted, ready to ride to the earth, the Valkyries. I saw Balder, the bloodied victim, Odin's son, resigned to his fate. There stood the mistletoe, growing slender and fair, high above the plain. That tree, which seemed harmless, caused a terrible sorrow when Hoth took a shot. Balder's brother was born soon thereafter. He was Odin's son. He took vengeance, while still just 1 night old. He had never washed his hands, nor combed his hair, when he put Balder's killer on the funeral pyre. Frigg wept, and Fensalir for the whole of Valhalla. Have you learned enough yet, All-Father? I saw a prisoner, lying in a certain wood, the liar himself, none other than Loki. There sits Sigyn, his wife. Although she finds no glee in her husband, have you learned enough yet, All-Father? A river falls from the east, full of daggers and swords, through valleys of poison. It is named Slith. There stands north of the dark valleys a golden hall, of the kin of Sindri, and other stands of Ocklinir, a beer hall of giants named Brimir. I saw a hall that stood far from the sun, on the beaches of corpses. The doors face north. Drops of poison fall through the roof. Its walls are encircled by serpents. I saw oath-breakers wading in, those thick streams and murderers, and those who seduce others' lovers. There, Nithog sucks the corpse of the fallen, snaps them in his jaws. Have you learned enough yet, All-Father? In the east sat an aged giantess in ironwood, and there she raised Fenrir's brood. Among them, a certain one who bites the moon in a troll's shape. Dead men feed their lives to the wolf. The home of the gods turns red with gore. The sun shines black through the summers. The weather is never cheerful. Have you learned enough yet, All-Father? A giant, a herder by trade, sits there on a burial mound, striking a harp. He is in cheerful Igthir. A bright red rooster named Jalar sings near him in birdwood. Near the Aesir sings the rooster's name Golden Comb. He wakes the men who fight for Odin, Lord of Battle. But another sings below the earth, a soot-red rooster, in the halls of hell. Fenrir howls terribly before the door of hell. The wolf will break its bonds and run. I know much wisdom. I see deep in the future, all the way to Ragnarok, a dark day for the gods. Brothers will fight one another and kill one another. Cousins will break peace with one another. The world will be a hard place to live in. It will be an age of adultery, an age of the axe, an age of the sword, an age of storms, an age of wolves, shields will be cloven. Before the world sinks in the sea, there will be no man left who is true to another. The giants are at play, and the gods' fate is kindled at the blast of Jalhorn. Heimdall blows that horn hard, holds it high aloft. Odin speaks with Mimir's head. The old tree sighs when the giant shakes it. Yggdrasil still stands, but it trembles. Fenrir howls terribly before the doors of hell. The wolf will break its bonds and run. I know much wisdom. I see deep in the future, all the way to Ragnarok, a dark day for the gods. Hrimr advances from the east with the shield before him, and the Midgard serpent in a monstrous rage. The serpent beats the waves, and the eagle screams eagerly, splitting corpses with its pale beak. Naglfar, the giant's ship, is released. That ship sails from the east, bearing giants over the sea, and Loki is its captain. The giants are coming together with Fenrir, and Loki too is with them on the voyage. What news from the gods? What news from the elves? All Jotunheim is roaring. The Aesir are in council, and the dwarves, creatures of the mountains, terrible by their door's stone. Have you learned enough yet, All-Father? Surt comes from the south, with a bright light in his hand. Yes, the sun shines upon the sword in his grasp. The mountains collapse, the trolls fall, men walk the roads to hell, and the skies divide above. Then comes the second sorrow of Frigg, when Odin goes to fight the wolf, and Frey goes to fight the giant Surt. Then Odin, Frigg's husband, will fall to Fenrir. Then comes the great son of Odin, Vitar, to fight to avenge his father on the wolf. He shoves his sword into the mouth of Fenrir, all the way to the heart, and thus Odin avenged. Then Thor comes, Earth's son, Odin's son, to fight the Midgard serpent, the protector of Midgard. Will kill that serpent in his rage. But all mankind will die out of this world when trolls fall, after only 9 steps, struck down by the venom of the horrorless serpent. The sun turns black, the earth sinks into the sea, the bright stars fall out of the sky, flames scorch the leaves of Yggdrasil, a great bonfire reaches the highest clouds. Fenrir howls terribly before the doors of hell. The wolf will break its bonds and run. I know much wisdom. I see deep in the future, all the way to Ragnarok, a dark day for the gods. I see the earth rise a second time from out of the sea, green once more, waterfalls flow, and eagles fly overhead, hunting for fish. Among the mountain peaks, the Aesir meet in Ithavoll and regard the bones of the Midgard serpent, and there they recall the great events of Ragnarok and Odin's old wisdom. There they will find once more a wonderful golden game pieces in the grass, which they had once played with the earliest days. Fields will bear harvest without labor. All sickness will disappear. Balder will come back. Hoth and Balder will live in Odin's hall, as well as other gods. Have you learned enough yet, All-Father? Then Honir will speak forth his prophecies, and the 2 sons of Odin, the 2 brothers, will inhabit the heavens. Have you learned enough yet, All-Father? I see a hall standing there, more beautiful than sunlight, thatched with gold, at Gimil. There bold men will dwell, and enjoy cheer throughout their lives. Then the dark dragon will come flying down from the dark mountains, that glistening serpent. Nithog will bear corpses in his wings, as he flies over the valley. Now I must retire.